I wonder what their. I would imagine that those would sell pretty well. I'm surprised they don't do more of those, to be honest.
I know.
And of course, we used to do them for the, for the party
Right.
too. But it becomes that's not the right crowd for that. But
Right.
but yeah, I mean, I would think like I know their Lynch one probably sold out. Like, I mean, and I know they always end up with extras, but at a certain point, like, who cares, right? I mean, you just sell some to people, and
Right.
especially like I would have figured they would have done one for the Stone event.
Oh, they didn't, huh?
Yeah, they didn't.
I'm surprised.
Or if they did, I didn't see anything. Like there were people that were hawking Stone autographed books. I don't know who they were, but when I got into the lobby that night, there were people that were there that had the Oliver Stone Experience book, that big hardback book that he has. And then I think there was one other book that they had that there were certain ones that were signed, and then there were certain ones that, like, I guess they'd already pre-sold or something, and then you could still buy one. And then there wasn't any really, I think, official meet and greets. If you were kind of in the know, you could have stuck around long enough to chat with him personally, because he was out in the lobby.
Because like he went out to dinner with people too. I mean, I saw pictures from like Barack.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, not that like everyone was going to go out to dinner with him, but
right.
I mean,
right.
I wasn't there. I mean, I'm sure that he would have been like, "Hey, is that Barack guy?"
I've heard their podcast. I've heard good things. Let's. Why don't we go grab a taco?
Well, you saw the poster I got for the Instrument. Screening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what other ones they've done.
It's mostly Painter Pants that does them. Like, I mean, like but I don't know who did I don't think he did the Lynch one.
No, I don't think he did either.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, it seems like there'd be enough interest. And again, I know you don't want to do it for every single thing, but for big events like this, where you've got like, I don't think there was one for Deacons either, but I mean, like, you figure that there would be like one of those things where you just put together some art in regard, like we do. I mean, right? I mean, like, so, I mean, like, put together some art for your key screenings, the things that, and the movies you think will pop with people, and, do a 2 to 3 color screen print of something. There'd be somebody who could do that for next to nothing, 16 by 24 or whatever, and then just sell the shit out of those.
Because, I mean, it doesn't need to be anything fancier than that, really.
Of course, that being said, we've always talked about how they're a small staff, and then you add another thing on top of it. I would imagine that, like, their merch sales are more of an afterthought than they are anything else. And of course, you get stuck with certain sizes of certain t-shirts that you can't ever get rid of. And I know that occasionally they have like garage sale type things. Like right now they've got the VHS pop-up that's going on, the Video Crypt, and like they're selling, posters for $5 a pop or whatever. So like you can go and get leftover crap from them. So like they had Max and Molly and Max Meet in the Future poster, and like some just stuff from that they've got. And of course, they're all in various states of disrepair or in good shape or what have you. Right. But yeah, I mean, it seems like, I know you can't. And t-shirts is a whole different thing, but posters, it seems like people, if you price them right, people would buy those things out. People are buying popcorn buckets for
no shit.
Right?
I did not understand that the popcorn buckets were like such a big deal.
It's a
with
weird,
like everyone.
It's a weird thing, but I think it'll ebb out. I think there's only so much shelf space, and these things are big and they take up a lot. And also they're, but yeah, I mean, like, and like, I think
what are they made of? Are they like hard plastic?
Yeah, for the most part.
Okay.
I mean,
so you can actually like wash them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they don't fall
Although
apart.
that being said, some of them do. Like the Batman one, you couldn't wash the Batman. You could wash it in soap and water, but not like you couldn't dunk it because it's got electronics inside of it. So to a certain extent.
Okay.
Like the Ghostbusters trap one it lights up. So there's certain things you probably really couldn't do. Yeah. They actually had one at the Texas Theater for Joker 2, which I don't even know if it was really for. It didn't look like it was tied to Joker 2. It looked like it was tied to Suicide Squad, but I don't know necessarily. Like it's.
Did you get out to see that?
Joker 2 yet? No, I have not. I did in anticipation, because I thought I was going to be able to watch Joker 1 again, and I was thinking, man, that is not really that great of a movie.
Did you like it when you first saw it?
No, but I was kind of confounded by it.
Okay.
I think I was open to the idea of it.
Okay.
And I liked what they were doing with, when I say they, I mean Warner Brothers, and I mean, DC in general. I like this idea that not everything has to be interconnected, and I don't have to watch 400 movies to get to the next one.
Yeah.
I like the idea of also like making like, because the comic book industry has done this. I like the idea of making these are for kids and these are for adults. But I don't feel like Phillips, well, and I think we got so enamored with, and you can clearly tell because he won the Oscar. I think we get so enamored with the performance of Phoenix, but really, I don't think Phoenix does a whole hell of a lot in that.
He lost a lot of weight.
He lost a lot of weight, and he moves around weirdly, right? I mean, like, and so, yeah, I can see his rib cage, but the more and more you go back to that film, and I haven't seen it a ton, and I saw it I saw it in the theaters when it first came out. I may have watched it in bits and pieces,
right?
But it's empty. And then and when I saw it the first time, I'm like, okay, well, clearly this is Phillips trying to be Scorsese, and I think that's a point that's been well made, and people have said it over and over again with King of Comedy and Taxi Driver. I think it looks gorgeous. I think he does. I think Phillips has a pretty decent flair for the visual in that movie, which he really hadn't had in anything else that he's done. Like, I mean, like, and of course, this is his first real foray back into serious filmmaking. If you go back to his first like frat, experimental, whatever. But I mean, like, it doesn't really say anything, and it doesn't like. I mean, and of course, there's if you just subtract the incel bullshit around it, right? And the people that like, I just don't feel like it didn't say anything about mental health. It doesn't it doesn't really say anything about like, it doesn't, I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't say anything about the class warfare or let's even say, just to give it kind of a, whether it's a, this white male fragility, doesn't even say anything about that really. I mean, we go from, he is a put upon, performer, right. That is constantly bullied. He makes up this own world that he lives in. He kind of finds out that his mom is also, and has mental health issues. And he thinks that Thomas Wayne is, I mean, like, right, I don't know. Right. Like at a certain point you start to lose the thread of like, the moment that you try to make that movie more than just being another Joker origin story, or like this idea that, I mean, that it could have been just that, right? But then you start to put all this gravitas and weight to it, and it becomes did it get Best Picture nominations or something? I mean, like, I know he won the Oscar.
Phoenix won the Oscar, but I forget what it actually.
Right. And I mean, like, with
nominated for.
These days with the 10 slots for Best Picture, which I know is just a money grab. It's not really that. It just seems like it doesn't. It takes away from. I mean, look. I mean, we could argue all day long whether or not it actually means anything, or whether we can choose the best anything in art.
Right. I mean, this is ultimately a subjective exercise, right?
But I mean. So I went back and watched it, and I'm just like, I'm not even like appalled by the violence of it. If this had been kind of like a pseudo Death Wish Joker origin story, I probably could have gotten behind that, kind of going back to 70s grindhouse. But it's just a story of an asshole.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
I mean,
right,
like, and it's not like I mean, obviously he's the Joker, right? And obviously we're supposed to feel sympathy for him. But the moment that he then believes the hype of his bullshit, like, and that happens so organically in the movie, like not organically, it happens so immediately after he kills pseudo rich white guys on the train. I mean, like,
right.
We're supposed to believe that Gotham is such a powder keg always, that the minute, and like, it also doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. And again, I stopped kind of paying attention to it, but like, how did people know that the person, I guess you could have seen him running away or whatever, but like, he was dressed as a clown. Like those 3 people he killed, he just killed them and then he runs, but there's nobody else around when he kills them.
Right.
And so the fact that then he's this, like, championed, and also like, I don't know. It's a weird fucking movie. It's just to kind of tear it down, but I don't think it's as good. Like, and also then we have, he goes off and shoots what ends up being a beloved figure. Like, this is a guy he's not part of I mean, he makes fun of him, sure. But that's a personal vendetta that no one should have been rallying around. But then at that point, that just serves as another, like, we're going to go protest and riot. And he stands out on the steps of the courtyard. I mean, like, it's just, I don't get that movie. I really don't.
No, I don't either. And it almost seems to be giving the wrong message about mental health.
Right.
Where it's just kind of like, oh yeah, the reason people do anything like this is just mental health.
Well, and it's like, another one of those.
Definitely not the guns.
Right. It's another one of those too that's like where there's where we depict it always as violence, right? It's not, so it always succumbs to violence. The shit that he writes in his had it have been had he had the kind of intelligence around putting this together, and had they made like everything be fake, taking a kind of an American Psycho aspect to this, where like the killings weren't actually real. Right. And the rally cry around the sadness of the Joker is he just ends up in Arkham at the end of the day because we don't fucking like him,
right? Because
he's creepy to Batman, little Batman, right, but he never actually does
anything.
He never actually acts on anything. He like goes on like where, De Niro goes out and Murray brings him onto a show and he bombs, right?
Yeah.
And then, but in his head, he blows his, shoots him.
Right.
Having a Joker end up in Arkham, and of course, I guess you can't really make that argument because when you get to Arkham, he murders the person that's sitting across from him, and then he walks with bloody. He was way more interested in the visuals of this movie than he was actually the storytelling.
Yeah.
But if you have ended this off with, a Joker who was big in his own mind, and that we didn't help him, that social services got cut, that Thomas Wayne, and we showed that Thomas Wayne is the fascist that Batman, and not even that, but just, it doesn't have to be that level. It could just be this, heartless capitalist that's led to this. That's a fucking interesting movie, right? Where there's the impotence of not being able to enact in this world that's completely against you, and then living in your own head. But of course, this is not what we did. So
no, and that's not what we do here, right? Because today's Screamers, it's another episode where we seek to build a city that adequately shows our own genius. Today is a big day. We're talking Megalopolis. I'm just going to go ahead and make a Megalopolis joke.
That's been made, but yeah, sure.
I know, but I thank you. But I wanted to do it too. This is Francis Ford Coppola's masturbatory allegory, but it's not all bad because we're also starting our series on Kelly Reichardt with her first two films, or like first film and a half,
right?
River of Grass and Ode. So, Jason, what have you built lately? Sorry.
Well, I'm waiting for my wife to die in a tragic car accident so that I can somehow extract her essence and make a super material and then have it float around. And then I hope I get shot in the face by a kid that's been hired by a goon of Shia LaBeouf. And then I can put that stuff on my face and reconstruct my face
in your head, like in your head.
Yes, right. Yeah.
It is with your golden T-square.
I just in my Ayn Randian golden T-square. Like this poster just evokes Randian horseshit. Even though this movie's not really Randian.
No,
it's not. It has none of the trappings of that. It just looks like they're trying to make the Fountainhead. Right. Did you ever see, I'm sure you didn't because I didn't watch it, but did you watch that like independent Atlas Shrugged that was made like a few years ago?
No.
And where it's like, that I didn't either. At some point I need to go back because it just feels.
Do you think Kirk Cameron produced it?
Oh, Cameron doesn't. I don't think Cameron's deep enough to even
to do the
Randian things. It's just
to understand, to be like Alan Greenspan and be an acolyte of Ayn Rand. I always thought that was the weirdest fucking thing to see, like Alan Greenspan, right, in a black turtleneck, literally sitting at the feet of Ayn Rand. Have you seen that photograph of him? Yeah. And you're just like, this is bizarre.
How it's bizarre. Of course, there's a lot of pieces of the world that are bizarre to me.
Right, that's true. Yeah, I know. I mean, like most of the fucking world.
But how did Rand ever really like capture
I
any
don't know.
sort of.
I don't know.
I guess if you're just, did we fancy ourselves as like in the, again, we weren't born, but did they fancy themselves in the 10s and the 20s and the 30s as this like new era of philosophy and like where we were just sitting around on our bourgeois,
Yes.
like,
But yes, yeah.
swilling champagne and
You had, okay, maybe that's a little like highfalutin, but in the 20s and 30s, especially, you had a lot of new schools of thought coming up. Right? I mean, this is where the kind of seeds of existentialism started anyway, right? With Husserl in the late, 1890s, early 1900s, and then that crossing over to Heidegger and Merleau-Ponty, and then to Sartre and de Beauvoir, et cetera, but also like Simone Weil was writing in the 20s and 30s about, abolishing all political parties. And so I think, a lot of people were just like, I'm just going to like sit around and think. And like, there's an anecdote about, Sartre and I forget, was it Levanius? I forget the other guy, but he was trying to explain phenomenology to Sartre, and he had like apricot brandy.
yes.
And he puts it down on the table and he's like, you can do philosophy. So you're not too like far off from the champagne thing, but no, I mean, yes, look, people read books and thought all the that's you either worked in a factory and died young,
right. But I get why people, I guess maybe I'll walk back my statement. As I understand why people would have bought into Rand, because you're sitting around here with devastation, may be a hard word, but you're sitting around here where the disparity between the haves and the have-nots for the very first time in America probably is really, really evident, right? And like you can look right out your window and see people, Oliver Twists everywhere. Right.
Well, and you had one world war and another one's coming up.
Right.
And like you're also getting ready for the Depression. So things are like in constant kind of flux too.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And this idea of, well, this manifest destiny, that we are the chosen people, but not even that. I mean, obviously that's not what
I am the chosen.
Right.
I.
And it's only on my good works, and that right. Everyone else, even the middle class that can kind of get close to us, is really still mediocrity. Mm-hmm. And only the creme de la creme and upper crust and the intellectuals and the ones who really strive for cutting through the bullshit and fuck you.
But it's also like pseudo intellectualism. It's
right.
not even
like I don't know. I couldn't get through that shit in like freshman level college. And I'm just like,
because it's just bullshit.
It's just fucking bullshit.
And it's poorly written.
It's so fucking long.
It's bad. It's just bad.
I know we're turning off all our Randian listeners out there, but
I cannot imagine if after like 60 plus episodes of this podcast, if somebody doesn't get our sort of like political slant, right?
Oh, but man,
but the point you're making, I think, and not to like bring it back to Megalopolis, but I think the point you're making really is kind of germane to this film, right?
Yeah.
Of only on my good works can this society flourish, because that's what this character is.
Absolutely,
that's what Driver's character is,
right? But he caveats it with the whole love angle, right?
Which is fucking stupid. Sorry, I mean the whole movie's stupid, right? But he's also okay. I mean,
there's so much.
Hang on, let me do this, and then I have a question. Okay. All right. The city of New Rome. Well, sorry, go ahead.
No. We have to stop and ask. We have to do a call-in question from the audience at this point, so they can ask one as well. This is Why Does Wilhelm Scream? The ultimate experience.
Yes.
When does an empire die? I present to you a vision.
We're in need of a great debate about the future.
What the fuck? The city of New Rome faces the duel between Caesar Catalina, a brilliant artist in favor of a utopian future, and the greedy mayor, Franklin Cicero. Between them is Julia Cicero, with her loyalty divided between her father and her beloved.
Which
That's
also then cuts out all of Voight's shit, too.
None of that is like actually fucking true, though.
No.
Like, I don't think that Esposito's character is necessarily greedy in terms of like money hungry, or like, I just think that he has this battle with this guy and he's going to sort of do the opposite of whatever Caesar Catalina, what a stupid fucking name.
Well,
But I mean,
we're going to argue this fucking dumbass movie on its own merits and its own plot. We're going to give this way more credence than it actually deserves.
I know.
But yes, look, this is a guy who was a district attorney. He was a district attorney who believed this megalomaniac killed his wife, actually, and then found out that he didn't, but still tried to frame him for it. Right. And so, out of his own arrogance, and then he becomes mayor of New Rome, and then, but out of that same, that same tragedy comes this super device this super material that allows Cicero's
the mayor.
The mayor, then Catalina is the fuck. God damn it! I fucking hate this movie.
But he never does anything with this super substance until the very end.
And he's also a drunken prick who's a philanderer and an egomaniac.
So here's the question that I was going to ask you. He comes off, especially at the end, as heroic, does he not?
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to make sure that I was getting that right. And now, he is meant to be seen that way. Like, that's not ironic.
No, I can't imagine how it is. Because, I mean, he's basically God in this, right?
Right. And that's what I wanted to make sure of, because this is much more of a fucking Robert Moses figure.
Yeah.
Right? Which is terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible, right? I mean, like we have... History has not been kind to Robert Moses, nor should it be. right? But this guy is doing exactly what Moses did. He is destroying neighborhoods to build his vision of something.
Right.
He is destroying poor neighborhoods, ethnic neighborhoods, to put his fucking parkway through these neighborhoods so that, it's easier to get out to Long Island, to properties that he owns. Right. And so, like, why are we, and then that is so kind of evident throughout this film. But then we see at the end, right, that he has basically saved humanity.
With moving sidewalks. Do you,
No, go ahead, please.
Well, just remind me after. It's not really important for the podcast. But if you ever, for people out there listening, if you have never watched the pitch meeting guy on YouTube, he basically goes, it's basically between a writer and an executive, and he goes through and pitches these movies, and he just takes the piss out of them. He's really he's funny, and he does one for Megalopolis. And it's really good. It's like something we have in every airport. Like, it's not like
right. I mean, like, the idea, because I mean, something that this super substance builds is essentially these like kind of ever growing houses, right, that run like on their own power. I don't even get that anyway. But like, he's basically solving like the homeless crisis, right?
And
which, again, nothing that Robert fucking Moses would have ever done.
But then he opens it to, like, he creates a homeless crisis to open it up to the rich and the elite at the end of the movie. I know. And this marriage of none of this makes sense. At certain points, he can stop time. At certain points, he can manipulate objects, and not only stop time, because again, when he gets into that drunken weirdness, and I guess you could argue that didn't actually happen, but he gets into this drunken weirdness where he can move, vodka bottles around, and then he behaves in a way like, at no point would anyone buy this guy's bullshit. No, I mean, aside from, because again, there's all thinly veiled, like, even though I don't necessarily know what Coppola's stance on anything actually is after seeing this movie.
No, I have no idea.
But like, these are all thinly veiled references to other people. Like, you could kind of see that that Catalina is maybe a Musk type figure, that he comes across as being this overly arrogant asshole, but is still believes in himself and believes what he wants to do.
So I want to jump in there because there's actual, and I hate to say this, but there's a kind of like historical precedent here that there were 2 real life Romans, right? Named Cicero and named Catiline. And the Catiline guy wanted to basically get rid of all the debt for the poor. And Cicero, basically ran a spin campaign against him that said he was trying to overthrow Rome. But if you look at that and put that onto this film, that does not fucking work either.
It doesn't make any sense. And that's the real thing that I think like people will ascribe meaning to this. That because one, they still for some reason believe in Coppola after years of nonsense and Jack and look, and a guy who ran himself into the ground, luckily had a winery and family that he could put in this, and then sell to make this movie. And kudos for the risk and the gamble.
Sure.
Right?
Sure. Look, follow your passions, right? I was, as you said, a family you could put in this. I was just thinking of Sofia Coppola and Godfather 3, just going, Dad.
Right. But like, if that was your aim, is to really tie and drive this home, drive this metaphor that you're clearly trying to make, that America is New Rome, right? Which, okay, sure. I mean, I'm not going to necessarily argue against you, but also like you either need to make that message clear or you need to give some pretext, because there's not that many people that are still here that are like one, again, like you said, this metaphor doesn't actually work, and ascribing the true names doesn't actually work. Right. And even then, if you did want that to work, the people who are watching this movie don't know who Catalina and Cicero are. No. We don't teach this history. You're expecting them to, there's not a fucking scroll or a crawl or, hey, here's where I'm getting at. Like, and again, okay, you can even argue then that we should know, that we should be smart enough and we should want to dive into this.
Which is why he uses the name Caesar, right? Because we know that name from history. But what we know of Caesar, right, was his kind of, I don't want to say treachery, but almost his, willful breaking of decorum to gain power, right?
But Caesar in this case is a banker. He doesn't actually even have power.
I know. That's what I'm saying, right? So why do that?
And he's supposed to be Trump. And his son's, I guess, Trump Jr. in a sense, or like
John Voight.
Yeah, I mean, John Voight's supposed to be Trump, right? I mean,
right.
Like,
and then that kind of,
that kind of, again, who knows, right? This ultra rich, doesn't give a shit, and then, but like none of the metaphor makes sense if you're trying to ascribe it to that. And then if you just take away the metaphor, like if you take this movie on its face about corrupt politicians and corrupt bankers and art all being at each other's throats, right? And all being at, and all, but then the message becomes, okay, then the corrupt government either wants to suppress art and suppress love to make sure we take care of the people. The bank wants power, so it's going to align itself with art as much as it needs to. Like, what the fuck are we saying in this movie? And then art is a drunken prick, right? That can't get out of its own way and will manipulate and use
and destroy
as much as it needs to then get its vision. Like, who the fuck and again, we don't necessarily need to root for anybody in this movie, but who the fuck are we supposed to, what are we supposed to take away from this? So at the end of this movie, so basically we've laid it all out for you. Yes, and it's dumb as shit. And if you've seen it, you know it's dumb as shit. Like, it's poorly acted, it's poorly put together. It is so poorly written. It looks like garbage.
Oh, it looks terrible.
It's like you asked AI to do a Baz Luhrmann, like
right. Well, and what is going on with the dialogue?
I don't know,
because it's like pseudo Shakespeare,
right? That has to be right.
And I'm like, the only person even doing it effectively is LaBeouf,
right?
I'm like, okay, I feel like LaBeouf is in the right movie and no one else is, right? Which is weird, because it's like, if you watch LaBeouf and you go back to something like Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet, he would fit in there.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And I'm like, okay, that works, but man, nothing else does.
I think Coppola gets too, it'd be one thing if that would have been an interesting collaboration to like say, hey, I don't know how you do that. I mean, because obviously Burt Lerman was utilizing the text, the actual text, right? So like
how do you write original text in iambic pentameter and with that kind of language, right? I mean,
because Coppola then gets too vulgar and like it just doesn't like. But then Shia LaBeouf is Trump Jr. in this case, who is
he Eric? He's probably Eric.
He's probably Eric. Yeah, he tries to usurp power, but really the media then tries to usurp the banker power. Whatever. Fuck this movie. I mean, it just doesn't make any like none of that. Like trying to make sense of it doesn't. It's not going to help you out any. But I mean, I feel like LaBeouf understood the assignment. I almost feel like Driver actually did as well, but I don't know. But they were in different movies.
Yeah.
Had they been in the same one, but doesn't
do you
this
think
movie?
LaBeouf's a better actor than Adam Driver?
Yeah.
Okay, I do too.
I think
that's the difference. Right? I think if Driver were a better actor, then those two would have been in that same movie.
If I were a director, aside from all of the baggage, I'd be trying to put LaBeouf in everything.
Sure.
I mean, like, because he has, I don't have anything to fucking lose anymore kind of mentality. Like, and look, I'm not, a horrible person, horrible past, whatever, lying about Honey Boy, all the bullshit. Whatever. Yes, he's probably a piece of shit person and we wouldn't get along with him.
But you qualified it. You said if he wasn't.
Right. But if he wasn't, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it makes it all better.
Yeah. No, I could not stand the scene where Driver's talking to Natalie Emmanuel and he's like, just go back to the club. And I'm like, what is going on with this? Like, this writing is awful. And she's just a blank slate in this movie. And I don't think she's bad in other things, but she's just nothing in this.
I think Feynman is not that you notice her all that much. I think she's a woeful misstep. I think Plaza is the one who comes off the worst in this.
But yeah.
And I just feel like,
oh my God, you're so anal, Caesar. It's a good thing I'm so oral. What the fuck was that? That line, that was so...
Well, her name is Wow Platinum.
No, I know, but
so,
why would they write that? It's such a terrible line to write, period.
I mean, in a movie that says, hey, what do you think of my boner? I mean, or
that's fair. Okay,
you can't begin to explore the Amazonian depths of my mind. I know that I'm paraphrasing there. I don't think he said explore, but like,
but it's still, I mean, close enough, right?
But
the idea is the same.
But you're right. Had we written this entire thing in iambic pentameter, I think it would have led to the air that it was trying to create.
Right.
Like this movie, especially as it opens, it feels like a Hudsucker Proxy meets Baz Luhrmann. Like, I mean, it has those fades and dissolves. It has that kind of like pseudo mid-century, look to it.
Right.
But also then in a modern sense, and like when they're coming out of the party. And Jasmine is still, that's her name, right? Is that, I mean, his Cicero's daughter, right? Is her name something, whatever. It's is what her name is. It has that sense of like
it's Julia,
Jasmine, Julia, whatever. I got the J right. So I mean, that's
no, you did. You're right. I mean, you're right. Yeah. I'm sorry for correcting.
It has a playfulness to it. Mm-hmm. And then we go like but the fuck you, man. It starts off with him at the top of the fucking tower.
Oh God.
And then like him like him like thinking he's gonna jump and drop, like kill himself, and then he stops time. Like none of that ever plays out. We don't ever give a fuck. Like it only.
Like, what was the point of that?
It has no point whatsoever. It plays out as a crisis of conscience. When he loses that ability and then she brings it back into him and then their baby has it. That fucking baby wink at the goddamn end. The baby turned to the camera.
Like, what was that?
And okay, so we get past all of this, right? So like Cicero doesn't like Catalina. Cicero wants to and then his daughter starts to kind of play the two, like she's trying to play the nice between the two of them. And like, now that we're dating and now that I'm pregnant and I'm going to have a baby, maybe we can make this work. And it turns out that the banker, the Trump family is trying to kill Catalina in order to throw Cicero under. I don't know. Throw
Not,
Cicero under
not John Voight though. Just Claudio.
Just
LaBeouf.
Right.
So LaBeouf and Wow Platinum, right, kind of join forces.
And she wants to be a power play, so she marries the head of the. She marries Caesar.
Yeah. Well, no, Caesar is Driver.
Right.
Right.
Right. She marries Catalina.
Voight is, what's his name in this? John Voight plays the character Hamilton Crassus the Third.
Crassus, right?
The
Crassus,
Third.
yes.
And he is Caesar's uncle.
Yes.
Right. They're all in some weird family. His mother's sister.
Right.
Or brother. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But so she marries him because she wants to be part of a power couple. Then she manipulates his son or nephew in order to take over power, which never really makes sense. Like that whole sequence of like, I'm going to get you off of the board and like show that you're incompetent and then take over. Like it doesn't fucking make any sense. Like he gets Driver gets shot in the face because they're trying to get him out of the picture essentially. So, because if Megalopolis doesn't exist, then taking over power from whatever, taking power over Giancarlo Esposito is going to be easier, I guess. But then he makes a martyr out of him and he puts Megalodon on his face. I know it's not the name of it, but it's close.
It's close enough.
And
Might as well be a
he puts it on
dinosaur.
his face, and so so it reconstructs his face. They reconstruct a dog's leg at some point, which again is not really. That's I say that like that's an event in the movie. It just happens.
Right.
They make a dress out of it and see through.
That's where it really is like a Hudsucker Proxy montage, right? Of them like just making the hula hoops.
There's some pseudo sex tape thing that exists where we try to take down the artist because he slept with an underage pop star, but she's not
who
really
promised to be a virgin.
Right. None of this. What the fuck does this thing really mean? Like
I have no idea. There's so much going on, and none of it connects.
And I know, and not that anybody's necessarily that's listening to this, I know there are people out there that are just like, you don't fucking get it, man. This is so deep.
You know what? Send me a fucking email. Explain it to me.
But here's the thing. If this was just some fucko that had directed nothing, right? And because this doesn't look like it's $120 million film.
Oh my God, no.
If this was just some nobody, if this wasn't from the director of Apocalypse Now and The Godfather.
It'd be like The Room kind of thing. It'd be like a Tommy Wiseau film.
This would be a Neil Breen film. We would all be going, this is an ego fuck. Like, I'm surprised Coppola didn't put himself in this.
Well, he did.
I mean,
Adam Driver.
Sure, right. Yeah.
But I mean, that's the other thing.
It's the Woody
too,
Allen, right? Once you get to that point, you can't be that guy anymore, right? But, and is that really the portrayal that you want for yourself? Is
you don't understand my vision.
There's so much horse shit in this movie.
You don't understand my vision.
And then, I mean, at that point, it just becomes, it almost like comes back to enjoyable just to watch how this fucking stupid ass shit plays out. The you don't, or what do you think of my boner scene doesn't come in until very, very late when he shoots Aubrey Plaza with a crossbow. With a crossbow.
Like a bow and arrow. Yeah. It's like an actual bow and arrow.
Like a kid's toy from the 1950s.
And it's like gold too, isn't it? I mean, it's like,
and he just guts her right in the throat. Wow, Platinum's dead. And then
you shoot Shia LaBeouf in the ass.
So at some point in this movie, about, I guess, 2/3 of the way through, and this is the infamous scene, which again, in a movie full of infamous scenes, where if you'd seen it in the Ultimate Experience, which I didn't see it, and I didn't see it, but
there was only like one, I think, screening, right?
The house lights come up. There's somebody down on the bottom, in front of the screen. The screen, the picture on the screen becomes much smaller, and someone asks a question. If you don't see it in the Ultimate Experience, it just comes up as a voiceover.
Yeah.
And then Driver looks towards that portion of where that person is standing. And it's basically the question, I can't even remember the question, but like it's, why should we take this on? What happens if Megalodon is, Megalodon or whatever is bad, essentially. That's in essence. Or like, why wouldn't we be worried about this new thing that you're putting together? And he's like, you need to come to this. If we come together all with love, and then this is how we bridge the gap. This is how we make ourselves. You know what? Fuck you, Coppola. That scene exists. Like it is how do you have the audacity? This is a guy who. There's only a guy who could have made either The Room or Neil Breen shit or Apocalypse Now and Godfather would have the audacity to fucking talk down to the audience that's watching your film. And again, you act like we're all invested in this. Like that we're all like on the edge of our seats waiting for Megalopolis to be created. Holy shit, I cannot wait for them to reveal the city with magical moving sidewalks. That's only 5 minutes from every hospital and park.
Right.
Like I cannot wait. I cannot wait to see this because this movie has done such a good job of building that up. But I'm afraid, I'm fucking afraid, Brock. I don't know what's going to happen. Like, am I emotionally prepared to accept the fucking new world and the Eden that Coppola is putting out there for me? Can I fucking do it? Well, I hope to God that he asks me and explains to me why I should. Because fuck you, Coppola. Fuck you. This is good. I'm glad you have no more wine money, motherfucker, because you should never fucking make a movie ever fucking again.
Seriously.
And this is
the same guy who made The Conversation.
This is the epitome of like no one ever telling you no in this case.
Right.
Like you have family members in this. Like Talia Shire looks like she's talking to Coppola. Like, I wish my kids were dead.
No, yeah.
Right? That's essentially her part in this movie. Is that sometimes the artist should just fucking die. She's the fucking voice of reason in this fucking movie.
Why do we keep calling him is he? I guess he's an architect. And so that's okay. But well, look, I think architects, IMP,
sure,
Gropius, right? A lot of these guys, yes, were artists, but he comes off as very cold and scientific all the time. And so that's why I'm like, we call him an artist, but really he doesn't seem to be really worried about art as much as he is.
Like, and who did Hoffman owe?
I know.
To be in this movie.
What's he doing?
Like, I get why Schwartzman was in this movie. I understand because it's like, you know what? I'm over at my uncle's house or whatever, or over at my great uncle's house. I'll just be in his stupid little thing.
Hey, Jason, you're hanging out. You want to do a couple scenes here?
Read some lines with me?
Yeah, sure. Okay. I'm not doing anything. I don't.
But God damn, this movie it's just, and like, at a certain point, I know you spent 120 million, right? And at a certain point, you spent 120 million so you could grow up extras, essentially, at this point.
Yeah.
But you're editing this, and you think, this is the fucking, this is the tits, right? Oh my God, this is exactly what I wanted to fucking do. And so at the end of it, Megalopolis gets created. Cicero is fine. He's made his peace with, and Driver doesn't give a fuck anymore that he's tried to frame him. That's fine because
it's good.
He's too focused on the future and building love, right? And then.
But when did he ever care about? Because he's a complete prick the entire time.
Right. He uses people. He treats WoW Platinum like shit. He treats the fucking pop star like shit.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden he's all about love. What the?
Yeah. But the good news is we have title cards that and then these big long pseudo philosophical soliloquies by Lawrence Fishburne, and I'm just like, motherfucker, this had it have been, and of course there's no way in the world that this movie would have been under 2 hours, but had this have been 90 minutes, I actually might have enjoyed this film just on the set of this was bonkers and bad shit, and it was a piece of shit, but at least this
was bug nuts and terrible, but I had a good time.
Right.
Yeah. Because I did not have a good time.
No, because again, it doesn't stay with any of its looniness long enough for you to actually and so you just get hit with, by the time the boner scene comes up, you're just like, okay, yeah, that's exactly what I expected this movie to do, is to
shoot me in the throat
with a fake arrow boner. How do you, legitimately, how do you write that line?
I don't know.
And expect that to
I do think you're right. I think it's AI's attempt to be funny.
And then at that point, any of this film's champions, how do you justify that line?
Oh, I don't think you can.
Is it
I think anyone trying to justify this film is just doing such kind of mental gymnastics that they're twisted so much into a pretzel they can't find their way out, and so they're just going to stick with that position. You know,
right?
They're just gonna stick with it and keep going.
It is unfucking believable.
Should we talk about something else?
Yeah, let's talk about something else.
Hey, that sounds like a great idea. Why don't we talk about Kelly Reichardt and River River of Grass.
River of Grass.
If you ever mistakenly got on the Palmetto Expressway and headed west, you'd run right into the Florida Everglades, an area that Indians like to call the River of Grass. Someday, I wonder if there was any other person on this planet as lonely as me. As it turned out, there was, and he was living just a county away.
Man, I just shoot my way right out of here.
You're not from around here, are you?
Feel like going for a swim? I got a friend with a pool that lets me use it whenever I want.
Lee and I had crossed that straight line that Dad called the law.
What's she doing with this guy?
Murder was thicker than marriage, and Lee and I were now bound by the life we took.
We should just get out of here. Hit the road, maybe go up north somewhere.
I could feel the butterflies in my stomach as I tumbled deeper into a life of crime.
Let me ask you, Jason, what or how would you classify or describe a Kelly Reichardt film?
Kind of just like peaceful meditations.
Yeah.
I mean, these kind of things, I think either you connect with the Reichardt film or you don't. And I think there's a portion of the film going, I understand why Reichardt is not at the top of mind for, the generic movie going populace. I would say I understand why Marvel has come a knocking, and to offer her up
but don't you think she is kind of like a Chloe Zhao?
Sure.
I mean, wouldn't they be like contemporaries?
I do.
Yeah.
But I also kind of paint her in the same like Nicole Hofstetter, or I'm not sure if I'm saying her name.
I know who. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or Miranda July, or these other. No, you're running back. I feel like these kind of indie, like female indie auteurs, almost like an early Campion too.
So I mean, I would say Campion. I mean, I see the Campion there. I mean, she gets lumped in with this kind of like slow cinema,
right?
Like category, and I know that she's kind of pushed back against that. And I get that. I mean, I think it's an easy classification, right? Because her films are meandering, right?
Right.
I mean, and I think they're always kind of, not always, but for the most part, they're about small subjects.
Yes.
Right. I mean, they're about like working class, blue collar people, typically in like rural communities. I just mean like, other than like Night Moves, we don't have like big kind of overarching ideas, right? Or these big kind of events that take place in a movie, in the movies.
These are things that kind of weasel their way into your brain and kind of stick there for a really long time.
Right.
I also attribute her as more of a precursor to someone like Sean Baker. Even though Sean Baker's a little bit over the more ostentatious, I think that she kind of feeds into that and has to be an influence on his films.
Oh, you would think. I mean, because again, like Baker is taking characters that you look out your window. Well, not my window, but you look out your window and like you see, right, walking down the street. I mean, trans characters, queer characters, but just people that are just out there, right? Kids in Disney World and fading porn stars, right? But I just mean like these kind of. They're not always shady, right? But they're on the edges, right? And I think that Reichardt's characters are on the edge too, but like in a different way, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
So we've got in River of Grass, we got Cozy, and we've got this other guy, and they're very much just kind of like lost.
I do think the comparisons, because when I read about this, I've been obviously everyone's bringing up Badlands. But I do feel like the comparisons to Malik, however you say his fucking name. How do you say
his name? Malik.
Yeah, me too.
So
I've heard it said both ways, and I haven't ever bothered to actually learn how.
I'm just going to go with Malik.
We'll just go with Malik. You guys know who we're talking about.
That's how I've heard it.
That's the key to communication. And it's not really about pronunciation or word
correctness.
Right.
As long as you know what I mean.
As long as we understand each other, that's fine.
Wittgenstein said that the meaning of a word is its use.
Right.
So
absolutely. So let's just say about, I don't think her films are as meandering as Malik's.
No,
And they're also not as precious as Malik. And again, I'm not sitting here bad-mouthing Malik.
I like Malik.
Wrong. I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. But I would ascribe her more to, again, which is not fair because Baker comes way after her, but like this film, and again, and Baker again is more ostentatious than these films, but kind of a nice blend between the two.
They're not as gritty as Baker, right?
Right.
I mean, and they're not as precious and pretty as Malik.
You know what pisses me off about these films is that
You know what grinds my gears?
you know what really grinds my gears, gets my gullet, is that these, like, she made River of Grass in '94.
Yeah.
And this was on several like best of lists, Village Voice, Boston Herald, these types of, I mean, like I may be pulling shit out of my ass, but I think I remember those.
Yeah.
Anyway, there were
Played at Sundance and Berlin.
right. You know how she got to play it at Sundance though? Is that it wasn't long enough to play at Sundance. They initially rejected it. So she slowed down the credits in order to get a long time runtime.
I love it.
But River of Grass plays in '94 at Sundance. And this is, we said before, this is the era where every independent distributor is giving out money like they're giving out fucking Halloween candy. Everybody's getting a $2 million deal. You take, and again, I'm not shitting on Kevin Smith, but if you take Clerks is the same year. You go, and Kevin Smith either gets 2 or 5 to follow up with Mallrats. You're telling me that it takes Reichardt a decade plus to then come back to Old Joy. Fuck you.
Have you heard her quote about that?
Probably have read it, but go ahead.
I had 10 years from the mid-90s when I couldn't get a movie made. It had a lot to do with being a woman. That's definitely a factor in raising money. During that time, it was impossible to get anything going, so I just said, fuck you, and did Super 8 shorts instead.
And which is mind-boggling.
Yeah.
Mind-boggling that we couldn't have lined up, like, as much as we talk about Hartley, as much as we talk about, like, if fucking David Gordon Green can get money to make movies, how the fuck did you not give money to, like, you have to be fucking banging your head against the wall thinking I passed up on helping out one of the preeminent women directors of our time.
River of Grass is more interesting than George Washington.
And
I like George Washington.
I don't.
I know, but that's what I mean, right? So even as someone who likes George Washington, I'm like, River of Grass has, I think, a lot more to say. And you're telling me that
you couldn't pony up a million?
Yeah.
You couldn't pony up $1 million to see what she had going on next. Her films are only 1 hour and 20 minutes long, right?
Right.
You don't have to give her shit. I mean, and and it would have done, fuck you. You could have, you could have made 5 of any movie that she put out. Any movie you put backing behind, in 94, just on the video rentals alone, you could have made your 10, 20 times your money back. And you couldn't give her a fucking $1 million? Like, and I guarantee you, she wasn't asking, like, it wasn't like she was going to people with scripts saying, I want to make Independence Day 2.
Yeah, I need $20 million to make this conversation movie.
Right.
I gotta pay Bonnie Prince Billy, man.
Right. He commands a hefty, well, he's got that no nudity clause, so I got to break that. So which we're jumping ahead to next episode. But I was just sitting here looking at this, like, and I guess I never like had really put it together, because I think Old Joy was really heralded, right? I mean, like, and I know we'll talk about Old Joy when we get to the next episode, but so it just feels like then Old Joy is her first film.
Right.
I mean, because then we're talking about, because when you look at River of Grass, it talks about, this is from the filmmaker of Wendy and Lucy and Old Joy, 2 films that were made after fucking River of Grass.
Right.
Like, you don't go to Wendy and Lucy like, hey, this is made by the maker of Old Joy and River of Grass. You let her sit on the sidelines for 12 fucking years.
It's ridiculous.
It's unfucking believable. Anyway, why don't you tell us what River of Grass is about?
River of Grass. Cozy, a dissatisfied housewife, meets Lee at a bar. A drink turns into a home break-in, and a gunshot sends them on the run together, thinking they've committed murder. So this is like a road movie that goes nowhere. Right? I mean, it's people that want to leave this place, but are constantly frustrated by, one, their lack of resources and just their plain ability to do so. And it's also this crime movie without an actual crime.
Right.
But I think that's the brilliance of this film, is that everything kind of then grows from that, this perceived, we got to escape, let's hit the road because we did this thing that we didn't do. And then they just can't get out.
And it's really like, they don't even really care. Like once they find out that they didn't do it, especially once Lee finds out that they didn't actually
he finds out early.
Right. I fucking love this. It's so goddamn funny. And like,
yeah,
it's so, I want to dig into this. We've got to get her that. I've got to get an interview with her because I want to dig into this specifically. And I know it probably won't happen, but I want to dig in this specifically because it feels like such a skewering, but like also not a pointed skewering of just genre tropes and like, not even that, but like you come in. So the movie starts off with, a bar robbery, essentially. No, it was like a convenience store robbery, right?
Well, no, I think it is a bar.
Okay.
Because the cop character who was Cozy's dad is like sitting at bars all movie.
Right.
And so I think it is. I think it is like a bar I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. He's sitting there. He's a cop, but he also he's a jazz drummer. He likes jazz.
Yeah.
He's sitting there and he's watching this, like he's either paying for a drink or something. And then someone steals the money out of the register and runs. And since he's a cop, he runs after him, but he can't shoot him. He can't like stop him because he doesn't have, his gun is fallen out of his holster. Right. And then we go into this montage of him misplacing his gun.
Like all the time.
Like he orders pizza and his gun falls out. And like the lady who lives down the hall from him has to pick it up
and put it on the box.
He's washing his goddamn guinea pig in the sink.
Yes.
There's a level of brilliance to that I don't. It's so fucking good.
Yeah.
It's so fucking good. When the hard-nosed, sergeant or whatever comes in and browbeats him, it's not even really like he's so poorly acted. And like his girlfriend is dressed like a 20s flapper. And then they cut to crime scene photos that are laid about there. So it makes her nervous. But the other two cops in there couldn't be less bothered.
They do not care.
They do not give a shit. And then he's like, I'm going to get internal affairs involved in this because you lost your gun. And he's like, I think I can find my own gun.
Yeah.
Then we cut to another montage of him looking for his gun. And this is before we get to, this is like really Cozy and Lee are kind of intercut in all of this. When he ran his foot underneath the sink to find the gun, when it clearly could not have been hidden underneath there because it's not wide enough to hold the gun, I'm in tears.
I know.
I'm laughing so hard.
I know.
I'm just like, this fucking movie is, when he like knocks all the books off of his shelf and looks under his mattress, like it's such a fucking dumb, and then it just turns out it's on the street somewhere and these two dum-dums find it essentially.
Yeah.
There's a moment sticking with those cops, and of course this is set in Miami between Dade and Broward County,
and this is where Reichardt grew up. Right. This is exactly where Reichardt grew up, and her family were all cops. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So she comes from this like line of like law enforcement.
So Cozy and Lee, Cozy's not married right anymore.
No, she is.
Because she is. Because I read some description where it was like this is her ex-husband, and I got confused.
No, because she goes and picks him up like every day from work. Right. She doesn't work, and then that night when she goes out to the bar, she leaves her baby just on the couch.
Right.
She's just like, okay, you're good there, right, and then just is gone.
That's the other scene at the very beginning because this is all narrated by Cozy.
Yeah, and she's just like, I don't love my kids.
Right. Yeah. She talks wistfully about her mom, how her mom left her at 10 and that she ran off to join the circus, and that seems to Cozy to be the best option of this. And she gets married because she's stuck in this small town, and she gets married because she's supposed to. She's like, I just figured I'd fall in love with him at some point. And then she's like, they had kids, and she's like, well, I figured at some point I, would connect with my mother. The first sequence we see her with her kid, she's pouring Coke into a bottle for this like toddler. I was like, holy shit, I hope Kelly doesn't make that kid drink that Coke. I'm just like fucking nervous as shit. But yeah, so she just leaves the kid there on the couch essentially, and then bolts. And then, they climb over this fence to kind of partake in this pool. And Lee has had this gun because his friend found the cop's gun. So
so he's like, hey, can you go sell this for me?
Right.
And Lee lives with his grandmother.
Right. And then, so they're sitting out there by this pool. One of the jazz musicians it's his house right next to the bar, I guess.
Right, but who was also like Lee's high school teacher or something.
Yeah, that's what I also think I love about this movie. This movie has like 5 people in it, and they're all
connected.
They're all connected.
They all know each other,
and but they don't act like they are. Like,
I know.
Like he shows up behind Lee when Lee's trying to pawn the ticket or try to get refunds on the tickets. Right. So the light flips on. Cozy shoots the gun, and they think that they've hit this jazz musician, and of course they didn't. We find out later that they didn't. They didn't actually commit a crime. But this gets the cop and more hot because they found the bullet and realize it's from his gun. Cop's gun. They hop back over the fence, and then they go on the run because they think they killed this person. When the cops come to the house and they're looking at the bullet and they're talking to the guy, and they're like, "Hey, they just shot," and that was basically it. And that cop takes that basketball and shoots it at the basket in the pool. I know. And it's like he misses and it's like, fucking.
I know.
It's so goddamn good. It's so good. And like, here's the thing. I would totally understand like if you saw this and didn't like. I get if you didn't like it. I mean, to be honest, it's a little slow. It's a little meandering. It's a little boring in some spots. Yeah. But the ludicrousness of it all was, and this is why I feel like you can't really compare like this. I know it gets compared to Badlands a lot because it's about these two crime, but like this is not Malick in this case. This is absurdist comedy in the subtlest way. And maybe it's not even that. Like it's so.
No, absolutely right. I mean, Lee is just a complete loser, right?
Right. He points a gun at his grandma for no good goddamn reason.
She woke him up. It's 8 o'clock, Lee.
I love the scene when he's talking with his friend with the gun, and he's in the wheelchair, and then we're all thinking, well, look, Lee's got a handicap because you don't see him pick up the gun, right? He's just in a wheelchair. He stands up and climbs out the window.
I love that he goes out the window too.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you find out that Lee's almost 30.
Right, who does nothing, right?
Right. You're like, whoa, I did not expect
he's like
that.
wildly inappropriate. Like he sleeps completely naked on top of the covers.
And the grandmother just comes and sits next to him.
And kind of like sighing and like put out by like his nudity and him still being asleep in the middle of the fucking day. Oh man.
It's so, I know. And Cozy is deadpan the entire time.
Like she gets pseudo scared when she shoots the gun and it feels like she's murdered somebody. But then at some point they've made peace with it. She's also made peace with like leaving her family, right? Like leaving her dad in kind of a lurch with the gun. Her dad kind of understands what's going on because he figures out that it's her and Lee that are tied to it.
Right.
But yeah, it's so bonkers and
I absolutely love the ending.
The ending is genius.
So good.
So basically once Cozy finds out, like I think what's so brilliant about it, right, is that Cozy really wishes that she had have committed the murder
so that she could leave.
Right. Well, that she could leave and that
gives her ticket out
and gives her life some sort of there's something that happens in her life that was even not even under her control per se, but like it's something that she did, right? Everything else that's happened to her, even the kids and the marriage and everything else. Once Lee tells her that you didn't really kill anybody, we're not really in trouble. She's just looking forward, driving the blue Malibu.
And she's pissed.
And she's mad.
Yeah.
And she has the gun.
And he's saying things like, we can stay with my friend and then save up some money to get an apartment.
Basically just pulling her right back into the life she doesn't want to be a part of.
And she never seemed interested in this guy romantically, right?
Right.
It was just a get me out of here thing. Yeah. But then.
And then she shoots him. She shoots him off screen. So you just see her. She shoots him off screen.
She turns the gun, right? And then
and pushes him out the door. You don't see any of this. Of course, it's a low budget film. There's a reason why you don't see it.
Sure.
But she shoots him, pushes him out of the, so you see her pull the door shut. Then she keeps driving and drives right into fucking traffic.
Yep.
God damn, that is such a good fucking ending.
It's such a great ending, right? It is. Oh, it's fantastic.
It's so... like for an hour and 17 or whatever this is.
It's like 76 minutes. Yeah.
It is a fucking just like... And like if for me calling it a thrill ride is a ridiculous statement, but god damn, I was just enthralled and like laughing the entire... And that ending is funny. Such a chef's kiss, man.
Oh man, and no, the ending is... just brilliant. And I love the fact that everything's off screen and all we see is her reaching over to pull the door shut and the car, the passenger side is empty. That's perfect.
But pulling into traffic and then like the last few minutes are literally all of us just sitting in traffic.
Yeah. Which is another just great.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, no, it's so...
How do you not give her money? How do you not give her money?
How do you not see something in that?
Right.
I mean, what kind of idiot are you? If you're not like,
I mean, look at
what could she do with a couple?
Look at the fucking films that got funding after this, right? I mean, like El Mariachi, Reservoir Dogs. Now, granted, I mean, say what you will. I love both of those movies, but I love this one as well. I don't know what, aside from the hyper violence and the testosterone. Is that all we were caring about? But
we saw Hartley sort of like take the piss out of that anyway. Right.
And then, okay, so Clerks, right? Clerks gets another $5 million to do. And look, I understand Clerks costs nothing. It has a lot of pop culture references.
This thing didn't cost anything.
Right. Like how is it that this plays at Sundance at a festival where people are looking for the next voices?
The next American voices too.
Right. And we don't like. I almost wish she had have like said this was directed by Richard Reichardt, and like masked her name. Like, and again, I don't want to encourage that behavior. Like, did you have to do that?
Right.
But like, if this had have been directed by Tarantino, or if this had been directed by like Rodriguez, which, I mean, arguably Reichardt's a way better director than Rodriguez.
I don't think there's any argument about it.
Right? I mean, even Smith. Like, I mean, like, Smith has a niche, right? But and I think he would even say that he's not the director that Reichardt is.
No.
He's not telling these stories.
No. He doesn't have that vision either.
And I mean, like, and here's the thing. I would imagine Desperado made money. I know that Mallrats didn't. I mean, like, ultimately, at the end of the day, it probably did, just from a perspective of, like, by now, 30 years later, it's probably made its money.
Well, and I feel like Mallrats was probably also a rental maker as well.
Right. And to be fair, a lot of Mallrats' budget went to Shannon. There was, a huge portion of her. Yeah. She got paid seven figures.
Good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. It also, the budget went to like us just quoting that movie how many years later.
Right.
But this film, it was nominated for the Grand Jury Prize at Sundance. It was nominated for 4 Independent Spirit Awards. So, it was recognized.
Right.
That's the thing. It was critically recognized. And you still don't see a value in her work.
Yeah, it's fucking bonkers. It is fucking unbelievable. But regardless, it's so fucking. This movie's so fucking good.
No, it's fantastic. It is fantastic.
And because again, like as we talk about like the intentionality of everything. Because this like if you look at this, if you're just coming into this cold, don't really kind of. If it doesn't connect, if it's too subtle, if the satire is too subtle, or the piss take is too subtle, I can understand that. Right?
Yeah, sure.
So it does feel like, obviously the police captain or whatever he is in this case is a ridiculous over the top character. It doesn't look like he even belongs in this movie. Looks like he walked in with street clothes on. In fact, most of these guys look like they walked in with street clothes on.
Yeah, they're their own clothes.
Like I totally get it, but I mean
that's part of the film,
But it's part of the
that's
right.
part of
Yeah.
it, right? This guy's not supposed to. He's supposed to be over the top. He's supposed to be a caricature of right that type.
Right. Oh goddamn.
Do you want to speak a little bit about Ode?
Yeah, let's speak about Ode.
Okay, so this was one of the short films she made after, or not being able to get money, and this is sort of a micro feature. It's like 48 minutes long. This is okay. Well, here, teenager Bobby Lee Hartley navigates her blossoming hormones as she is courted by Billy Joe McAllister, who is headed for tragedy. So this movie's basically based off of another movie that was based off of a song.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So what was his name? Herman Rocker.
Yeah.
Right. Wrote the screenplay and then a novelization of his screenplay. Right, for the film.
Ode to Billy Joe, right?
Ode to Billy Joe. Yeah, which was like 70. Right. I don't know.
The song was way more popular than the movie was.
Right. But that movie was set in the 50s. This movie set in the 90s. And one thing I like is that not a lot has changed in like 40 years. Right. And I do think that's interesting. But I mean, this was, I would like to find a clean copy of this because it was hard to watch. I mean, it was hard to watch. It was hard to focus on. And
it's a VHS rip. And it's not even a good VHS rip.
No, right? And there's German subtitles on there. And
yes.
I mean, you can't really.
But I think Reichardt has stated that she kind of wants these things to be lost. Like, there's no interest in going back to them. They were time killers at this point.
Right.
There's not a lot to this. I mean, basically what happens is it's, a religious girl. I did like all the Young Life references and like like
I gotta go hang out with them young lifers. Ditch them young lifers for me.
Oh God, that was such a.
I just like kids with two names. I especially like girls with two names. Right?
Yes,
Bobby Lee. Come here, Peggy Sue.
Right.
Right.
But basically, turns out that Billy Joe wants to court Bobby Lee because he's gay.
Yeah, which is, I mean,
he wants to kind of prove to himself that he isn't, essentially, right?
Do we get any indication of that before the fair?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, I didn't think, I was like making sure I didn't miss something because he seems to me just like a kind of normal 16-year-old boy who's like, ooh, that girl's cute and I want to have sex with her.
Right.
I want to get in her pants, right? And so it's all this constant like, why do we have to sneak around? Come on, tell me you love me. Nothing happens here. You get me all hotted up and now I can't like do anything. And then he's supposed to meet her at a fair and he's brown bagging it right at this festival. And next thing you know, he walks off with another guy and they start making out. And
right.
And I think in the original movie, he's like drunk and confused and goes to this like makeshift brothel.
Yeah.
And
it's been, I'm sure I've seen it. It's just been forever since I've seen it. Yeah.
I love these humble brags. I'm sure I've seen it
well, look,
because I've seen everything. Or
I don't
have
shoot
you, have
on,
you seen
I don't
it?
shoot on film.
Have you seen it? Probably not because like I haven't seen it. So
yeah, that was a douche thing to say. I'll give you that.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'll own it. It's fine.
No. But yeah, I mean, it just does seem to kind of come out of nowhere. I mean, I like this again. I mean, these are well-worn themes, but I think, worth exploring themes regardless. This idea of what it is what kind of masculinity is appropriate and when, and this idea of how we just don't really care about other people's tragedies because no one gives a shit that Billy Joe jumped off the Tallahassee Bridge. Yeah, right. I was like, well, knew that was going to happen anyway, right? I mean, what's the last line of this film? The last line is something like, this kid was a good for nothing, but did you know that somebody loved him? Which, I mean, a little heavy-handed, but right. I think the point is that, right? You never know what someone else is going through, Jason, so you should be nice.
It just feels, like I said, I understand why you wouldn't want these, or you're not even want them out there, but like to be revisited, because again, I would imagine there wasn't a whole, that these were filmmaking exercises more than they were anything else.
Absolutely.
And like, especially if you're fucking around with Super 8 and like, and just kind of wanting to keep your skills sharp at this point.
Yeah, and because you have no money.
Right,
I mean, to make movies, right?
Right. But yeah, it's kind of, this is fairly inconsequential. I mean, it's not like there's nothing again, you can't really see anything anyway, but like,
Right.
you know, it's not like there's specifically any sort of great shakes in regards to the acting.
Yeah. I mean, at
or
one
the-
point she had her shirt off and I tried to pause it.
right, a very big 90s bra that she was
Yeah,
wearing.
and I was
right?
like, well, there's no tracking on my laptop, so I couldn't like
Yeah, there's one portion. So
where the tracking
yeah,
does
the
go
tracking
out.
just goes out altogether. Like the only way to watch this, if you go out to Letterboxd, the first review for Ode, that's just ODE, is it has a Vimeo link,
Yeah.
and then it's a private Vimeo, but then it gives you the passwords, and you can go out and watch it.
And so like it's also on YouTube in parts, but there is no part 1.
Oh,
So it's like
weird.
so it's like part 2, and then you got to find the other like part 3.
Is it the same source? do you-
Yeah, you know,
Okay.
it's like this. It's the same video.
Okay.
Because I started to watch it. And I was like, well, maybe I can just start with part 2 and like.
And I think in '99 there would have been VHS rips that had been going around.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure she showed it places. I'm sure it was a matter of like, hey, I've got a feature length and I've got shorts that I can make a movie for you if you would
Proof
actually
of
give
concept
me
kind of stuff.
If
Yeah.
you flip me into a couple of nickels over here, I could probably do something for you.
right.
Give me a fucking tube, I'll get something out of it
and give
for
you
you.
some change.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, ultimately, like, you know, when we talk about like Iraqi's first films, I don't care if Ode ever makes it to 4K restoration, a Super 8 material. In fact, I would guess that Reichardt's not offering that up if she even has a
I don't
Super
think
8
she
still.
cares either.
Right.
Yeah.
I lump all of those like 70s song related movies together. So like Ode to Billy Joe and like Harper Valley PTA. And there's a bunch of them that are like in that same.
I just love that they were like, we should make a movie based on this song.
Right. Yeah.
We don't do that anymore.
We don't.
Which we should. We should.
And I know that Legend of Billie Jean is not a song, but there's like, but isn't there a song in that movie that's like, that's the We Need a Hero though. That's not.
Yeah, I was
okay,
gonna say,
so
right. But like, why hasn't some idiot tried to make a movie out of scenes from an Italian restaurant?
Holy shit!
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And again, like, I don't like Billy Joel, and I don't really care for that song, but you could see how someone would try to do that, right?
Or like a mini series at that point. But
Right.
like, so in Scenes from Italian Restaurant, this is always, I had this question about that song.
Okay.
Is it 3 different things that are happening? Where the first one is pseudo romantic kind of coming together, and then, or is it like people that are coming together kind of, and then telling the story of the couple that
Brenda and Eddie.
Brenda and Eddie, yeah. Is it? Because I don't think it's Brenda and Eddie at the restaurant at the beginning of the song, right? I mean, that they wouldn't have come back together. They parted the best of friends, which I kind of doubt.
Yeah, I know.
I kind of like. They had a hard time splitting those Sears paintings. They did not part the best of friends.
No, they didn't. And like, who got the shag carpet? Right.
Right. But I think the red bottle of wine, and then the other they talk about, there's a whole about you look good and your kids are great and blah blah blah, and then I think we go into the Brenda. It almost seems like, and it maybe
Is it someone telling a story to someone else?
maybe we're moving table to table is what I think is happening.
But
in that
everyone's
song.
talking about Brenda and Eddie?
No, I don't think anyone's talking about Brenda and Eddie except for that. Like, there's one couple that's talking about Brenda and Eddie.
Okay.
And then there's one couple that's like, hey, we used to do shit and like you still kind of look good, but we're both married. Should we do shit? And then there's a couple that's like older who's like, bottle of red, a bottle of white. Maybe we should reminisce over old times. And I think they just all kind of flow together, but I don't know. I'd be willing to discuss.
You've thought about this song
you're
a
right.
lot more than I have.
I've listened to it a little bit. Hey, look, you know what? Fuck you. I like Billy
No,
Joel.
I know.
like Billy Joel.
And look, man, I think that's fine.
You know, one thing I'll say about Billy Joel is like he does have some deep cuts that are great. I think Zanzibar and like there's some really good deep cuts.
Sure.
But man, like he really was a hot or cold artist.
Right.
Like it was his hits
Right.
or it was the shits.
Right.
Like the
Right.
second half of 52nd Street, that is almost unlistenable.
Yeah.
Like,
See, I mean, I will give you The Stranger and Glass Houses, right? I'll give you those. That's about as far as I'm going. Right. I mean, I think those 2 records are listenable, right. 52nd Street has like Christy Lee and all of that stuff on it, right?
Yeah.
And that's the cassette that I grew up listening to in my dad's car, right? So that was my like initiation into Billy Joel, right? Uptown Girl, was that on 52nd? Was that on
no,
that was on a different
later,
one,
yeah.
but it's still like kind of in that group.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all right.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like, but also there's all kinds of great like story songs that we feel like we could tap into. Do you figure like, even like, I mean, granted, I know that with the advent of the music video, maybe that's
also, I'm sorry. How come no one's made a film out of Slick Rick's children's story?
Right.
That'd be a banger.
Or Ice Cube's It Was a Good Day.
Yeah. Well, the video is kind of like a movie.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying is that I think the videos probably took the place of these long form movies in this case, and especially when you started having like Jackson make Bad and Thriller
and Moonraker. Not Moonraker. Moon.
Fuck.
What's
Moonraker.
that? What's that Moonraker? That's a
James Bond.
That's a James Bond film.
Captain EO and God damn it, what did he make? No, I'm not gonna be able to pull it. He made that with was that Dante who made that with him? I think Captain EO was Dante.
Right? I think.
And then Landis made Thriller and Bad.
Right.
Man, people don't like Landis.
No.
It's it's surprising to me that he continued well, I guess people rallied around him after the Twilight Zone shit, but like, man, but today that just, I mean, he's, and of course his son's a piece of shit, but like, but yeah, the historical view on John Landis is not good. And I'm not saying it should be. I'm just saying that he had a really long career after Twilight Zone the movie, and no one seemed to mind until like 2024 when we're all just kind of like, let's go back into the history books and see who we don't like no more.
Right.
And again, that's fine. I don't care. I mean, justifiably so, right? I mean,
I stay up late at night and remembering who I don't like.
Right.
Sometimes it changes.
Right.
Look, little Tommy from 3rd grade. Fuck that.
We're coming for you, motherfucker.
Like Steve Buscemi and like
right, yeah, I'm Happy Gilmore.
Yeah. Billy Madison there. Yeah. Ew, why do I know the correct Adam Sandler title?
Because he calls his show his production company Happy Madison.
I just don't really care. I mean,
they're making a sequel to
Happy Gilmore.
Yeah. Which seems like a mistake. It seems like a mistake.
Yeah. Are they going to start at Carl Weathers' funeral?
Yes. Although he already died. He died in the first one, so it's fine.
He did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. He
fell out the window.
Yeah, that's right.
Because he got him the alligator head.
Yeah.
And he got scared and fell out the window. Right.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else that we need to get to?
No, I mean, go see Megalopolis and let us know what you think. Because I mean,
you know what? Yeah, do go see it and then call in and let us know what you think.
If you're willing to sit through 2 hours and 20 minutes of pretentious shit, I'd say it's probably the best bang for your buck around.
So speaking of bang for your buck and Megalopolis, so I went to the Regal. That was the closest place that was playing.
It's the fanciest theater in town.
They had an AC problem.
Oh, Jesus.
And so the theater I was in was a little warm. It wasn't that bad, right? There was an older couple sitting in front of me trying to figure out something else to go see because they were uncomfortable, right? And it was just that theater. But they didn't like the seats available in any of the other movies. They were like, I don't want to sit that close. So they just sat there for most of the movie and bitched about the heat. But the manager came by and gave everyone a free movie voucher.
Well, that's nice.
Right? And he was like, look, if you want to go, I'll refund your concessions and everything. I was like, oh, okay. I wasn't going to say anything because I don't really care. And I'm like, you know what? I'll just sweat.
Right. You're already taking your pants off anyway. So
exactly. He was like, but also, like, I need you to put those. I'm like,
I know. Rock don't wear no pants over 80 degrees.
No pants. Do you have a handheld fan? I can. I got some sensitive. Anyway.
I chafe real easy.
You got some talcum powder.
Got to keep my water dry. Watching this Megalopolis over here.
You know what? Some popcorn butter will work just fine. Anyway, I think that's enough for today. So until next time, when we'll be back with more bullshit. Thank you all for listening.
And keep screaming.
Seems like nothing ever comes to no good up on Choctaw Ridge. And now Billy Joe Hollister's jumped off the Tallahatchie Bridge. Brother said he recollected when he and Tom and Billy Joe put a frog down my back at the Carroll County Picture Show. And wasn't I talking to him after church last Sunday night? I'll have another piece of apple pie. You know it don't seem right. I saw him at the sawmill yesterday on Choctaw Ridge. And now you tell me.
You have been listening to Why Does the Wilhelm Scream with your hosts, Brock and Jason. If you liked today's episode, do us a favor and rate, review, and subscribe in whatever application you use to consume podcasts these days. You can reach us by visiting whydoesthewilhelmscream.com. If you are in the DFW area, we would love to see you at a Fort Worth Film Club event. You can learn more about those and find a full schedule at fortworthfilmclub.com. And you can learn about my foundation and how we are trying to foster the next generation of film lovers at realhousefoundation.org. That's REEL housefoundation.org. Till next time.